In today's session, we are going to discuss about data sources, guys. Data sources in the sense, in ServiceNow, you can retrieve the data from different data sources. You can import the data into ServiceNow from different data sources. So far, we have understand how to import the data from Excel sheet. So far, we understand how to import the data from Excel sheet. Excel sheet is actually one of the data source. Excel is actually one of the data source. Okay. Excel is actually one of the data source. Like Excel sheet, we have other sources as well. Like Excel sheet, we have other sources as well. Okay. Well, we have JDBC, Java Database Connectivity. We have OIDC. Okay. We have other data sources available. Okay. We have other data sources available. That means data can come into ServiceNow platform from different sources. Excel sheet is actually one of the data source. Excel sheet is actually one of the data source. Like Excel sheet, we have different data sources available to import the data into ServiceNow. If you see here, if you go to the personal developer instance, okay, here, let me just go to load data. Let me import the file here. Click on open. If you submit this one, okay. So before creating the import set, it will create a data source. Let me go to data sources. This is 24 by 24. It was created 24 hours ago. Okay. Already there is a data source for this one. This data source is created whenever we load the file. Let me just do one thing. Let me delete this data source here. Okay. I'm going back. If you see now a data source is created. Before creating the import set, there is a data source created. Excel sheet is also one of the data source, guys. Excel sheet is actually importing. Excel sheet is one of the data source. Whenever you are importing the data through Excel sheet, it is first creating first creating a data source. It is first creating a data source. After creating the data source, then it is creating the import set. Whenever you are loading the data using load data, okay, what is it doing first? First, it is creating a data source here. If I open the data source name is actually stored with the file name. This is the temporary table. Okay. This is the temporary table and the type is file and format is Excel sheet. File retrieval method is attachment. sheet number 1, header row 1. Sheet number 1, header row 1. Okay. Well, here a data source is created. After the data source, after creating the data source, then it will create a import set. Let me do one thing. Oh, then it will create a import set. Okay, first a data source will be created, then import set will be created. Data source is already there here. So whenever we loaded the data, what is happening is first it is creating a data source. Okay. Then it is creating a import set. After creating the import set, the data is loaded to the temporary table. Okay. So here Excel sheet is actually one of the data source. Okay. Now we will discuss about data sources in detail now. Okay. So here we have type, data source type. We have JDBC. So JDBC means Java Database Connectivity. What exactly this does is that ServiceNow will connect with the SQL server. ServiceNow will connect with the SQL server. From the SQL server, it will import the details into ServiceNow temporary table. Okay. So from the database, ServiceNow will connect to the database. From the database, it will import the details into the temporary table. It will import the details into the temporary table and it will run the transform map. It will transform the details into the target table. You're getting my point, guys? Okay, we have LDAP. LDAP means Lightweight Active Directory Protocol. So this is used to fetch the users and group details from the external system. We have OIDC. So OIDC stands for OIDC stands for OpenID Connector Protocol. So this is also used to retrieve the um, details from the OpenID Connect protocol. Okay. So it will retrieve the details from the external system. It will import the details into the import set table, temporary table. Then it will run the transform map. Through the transform map, the data will be okay. Through the transform map, the data will be transformed to the target table. Okay. So likewise, we have file type. In the file type, we can upload different types of files: CSV file, CSV tab file, custom parsed script, Excel sheet, JSON, XML. Okay. Suppose if you select Excel sheet, okay, in the Excel sheet, which is the sheet number, which is the header number, okay, and file retrieval method. So is that attachment? So we are actually attaching the attachment from our local computer, right? We are attaching the attachment from our local computer. Okay. Instead of suppose if this Excel file is not there in my local computer, if this file is there in the server, okay, FTP server, then what I will do is I'll use FTP here. I'll provide the server name. I'll provide the file path. I'll provide the username and I'll provide the password. Suppose guys, this Excel sheet is not there in my local computer. This Excel sheet is there in somewhere in the server. This Excel sheet is there somewhere in the server. So what exactly will happen is that ServiceNow will connect with the server. From the server, it will retrieve the file. Okay. So the beauty of ServiceNow is this data source will connect to the using this username and password. This data source will connect to the server, and from the server, it will actually retrieve that file. It will import that file into temporary table. Then it will run the transform map. It will actually load the details into target table. So I will show you how to retrieve the details from external system. Okay, how to retrieve a file. Let us say this file, this incident file, this Excel sheet is there in my local computer, right? Okay. So now what I am doing is I am going to place this file in a server. Okay. So Wing FTP server. Okay. So just to open this one, you just use online demo. Okay. This is for login using your own client FTPS SFTP protocol. Okay. This is the server. Okay. This is the server. Okay. Hmm. This is the username. Username is demo. Password is also demo. Username is demo. Password is also demo. Okay. Mhm. Incident incidents from server. Okay. So first of all, I have to log into this one. I have to log into this server. Username is demo and the password is demo. So what am I doing here, guys? I'm going to this particular Wing FTP server portal. Okay. Just to type Wing STP, Wing FTP server. Okay. So go here and just use online demo purpose. Okay. From here, log in using your own client FTPS SFTP protocol. You just take this particular, you can take this particular location. Location is nothing but URL. And in this, use username and password to log in. Username demo, password demo. I am logging in here. When I am logging in, it is showing a message here. It is showing a message. Download the files, download the files under the folder, this particular download folder. Upload your own files into the folder, upload folder. What I am doing is I have accepted this. Go to the download folder. In the download folder, we'll upload one file. No upload permission. Okay. In this download folder, we have only one Excel sheet here. Only this is the one Excel sheet. Let me download this one. What is there in this, we'll see. Mm. There is no structured data here. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, sir. Okay, no permission is there, guys. Okay. So then what we will do is we will retrieve this Excel sheet from this particular server to ServiceNow. Okay. Mm, let me do one thing. Let me copy the file name. This is the file name. Now what I am doing is this particular data source should connect to this particular server, download folder slash this is the file name. This is the file name. Okay. Sheet number one, header number one. So I am just saving this one. So then what this data source will connect with this particular server using these credentials, and it will identify the file using this file path. So it is under download folder. It is under download folder. This is the file name, right? It will identify the file path. Then after that, you will click on test load 20 records. Test load 20 records. So that we'll be able to identify if ServiceNow is able to connect to that server or not. Okay. So it is saying inserts 8, updates 0, errors 0. It says total connection is successful. Okay, connection is successful. We go to the load data. Load data. You can see these all are actually column names, Excel sheet column names. These all are Excel sheet column names. A, B, A, C, A, D, A, E. These are Excel sheet column names. Okay, these all are Excel sheet column names. These Excel sheet column names are actually created as a columns in the temporary table. Okay. So that means file is uploaded. File is uploaded. So this data source is able to connect to this particular server using these credentials, and it is actually able to identify the file path using this path. It is able to locate the file using this path. Okay. Unfortunately, I am not able to upload that file here. Whatever the incidents file that I have, right? I am not able to upload that file here. Okay. Suppose if you have the file in the server, ServiceNow can connect to that server. ServiceNow can connect to that server using this particular location, and it will locate the file path using this one. In the download folder, this is the file name. In the download folder, this is the file name, and this is the username, and this is the password. So that what happens, okay, so that what happens, it will actually, this data source will actually connect to that server, and it will retrieve that file, and it will place those details into the ServiceNow temporary table. Okay, from the temporary table, you have to click on load all records. Load all records. Okay, you're getting my point. It will fetch the details. Okay. So once we loaded the details, once you click on load all records, once you click on load all records, it will create a import set. I'm just clicking on load all records. This one we imported just now. You can see two data sources here. This is the latest one. This is the latest one. Then what we will do is we'll create a transform map. We'll create a transform map. Okay. So transform maps, you all know the transform map between temporary table, the source table, and the target table. Target table name is incident table. So you can either use auto map matching fields or mapping assist. Anyone. You can either use auto map matching fields and mapping assist. You can do the field mapping. You can use the coalesce. If you want, you can use coalesce on multiple fields, or you can use choice action create, choice action ignore, choice action reject. You can also use source script. You can also use um uh, you know what do I say? You can also use transform scripts. We all have discussed about these transform maps, guys, in our last session. So in the data source, you are creating a transform map. Okay, in the data source, you are creating a transform map. Okay. So using this data source, what you are doing, you are retrieving a file from the server, and you are storing those details into the temporary table. Okay. So for every data load, there will be an import set. For every data import, there will be an import set created, is what I told you, right? So whenever this data source is trying to fetch the file from the server, it will actually import the details into the temporary table. Whenever the data is imported into the temporary table, whenever the data is imported into the temporary table, okay, the import set will be created. Okay, okay. So then This transform map will run, it will actually transform the details from temporary table to target table. Okay. This transform will map will transform the details from source table to target table, where you can use coil list to avoid duplicate records, where you can use choice action, create, ignore, reject. You can use source script, you can use transform scripts for validation of the data and all. Okay. So you have file retrieval method FTP, we have FTP, FTPS, HTTP, uh, HTTPS. Okay. We have SCP. So these all are the file retrieval method. Let us say if you have selected type as file, so we have different file retrieval methods here. Okay, we have different file retrieval methods here. Okay. So where you have to provide the connection details properly, like we provided here, the path, the server name, the file path, the username and password. Let us say when you are selecting SFTP, so you have to provide the port number as well. SFTP, so SFTP port number. SFTP port number is this one. Okay. So then you have to provide the SFTP port number. You have to provide all these details so that ServiceNow can connect to that external system and it can retrieve that file. It can retrieve that file, and that file will be imported into this temporary table. Once the data is imported into this temporary table, the import set will be created. Then this transform map will run, and it will actually transform the details from source table to target table. Okay, you getting my point, guys? This data source and all. This is actually a file retrieval type data source. We have JDBC. So in the JDBC, we have SQL Server, MySQL Server, Oracle. So where you have to provide Oracle ID, Oracle port, you have to provide the username, password, server name. If you want to query all the records, or else if you want to query specific records, if you want to query specific records, okay, then you will write that query here. So it will actually ServiceNow will connect to SQL Server, and ServiceNow will connect to database. From the database, it will import the details into temporary table. And once the details are imported into the temporary table, the import set will be created, and it will run the transform map. So likewise, data sources are used to connect to external systems to import the data into ServiceNow. Okay, we have different sources, guys. From all the sources, you can import the data into ServiceNow. From all the sources, you can import the data into ServiceNow. Okay, is that clear, guys? Data sources, everyone. Is this file uploaded into ServiceNow or not? We will see. Is this file retrieved or not? We can create an system. Did not get the file, but it has actually imported that file to temporary table. Okay, it is able to connect to this file, and that file is directly imported into this temporary table. That file is directly imported into this temporary table. Okay. Well, here, guys, you guys are able to understand this, right? Why these data sources are useful and all. Well, mostly we use JDBC, Java Database Connectivity Related, and these details like a mid server, which format and all, database name, database port, username, password, server details, the query timeout, connection timeout, this table in the database, everything, these details will be provided to you. These details will be provided to you by client, so that ServiceNow will connect to that system. It will, import those details into this temporary table. JDBC is mostly used. JDBC stands for Java Database Connectivity. Java Database Connectivity is mostly used. Okay. So it will authenticate, ServiceNow will authenticate that server, and it will fetch the details from that server to ServiceNow, and it will import the details into temporary table. Hope everybody is able to understand what is this data sources and all. Hmm. Okay. So likewise, if you want to import the data on regular basis, scheduled basis, so like you have scheduled jobs, right? Like you have scheduled jobs. Similarly, we have scheduled imports. Go to the application navigator, just a type of scheduled imports. You can create a scheduled data import. Okay. And you have to select the data source. So what is the data source that we created here? Incidents from server, right? This data source I am selecting here. Okay. Incidents, daily load. Daily at 10 a.m. Okay. Getting my point? So what happens is that this job will run daily. This job will run daily. Daily, this data source will connect to the server, and it will fetch the file from the server, and it will upload that file. It will import that file into temporary table. So daily it will connect to server, and it will fetch the file, and it will actually load that file into ServiceNow. Okay. So that means daily import. Okay, that scheduled data import means you are importing the data on scheduled basis. You are importing the data on scheduled basis. Okay. So daily what happens at 10 a.m. this data source will connect to the file, the server, and from that server it will retrieve that file, and it will import that file into temporary table. Then it will create a transform import set. From once import set is created, transformer will run. and it will load the details into target table. Okay. Sometimes what happens is that, guys, in the server, in the server, the file name will be, the file name will be with the current date. Okay. The file name will be with the current date. Okay. So then what we will do is, if the file name is with the current date, every day you have to change the file name. Every day you have to change the file name. So to change the file name every day, every day this file name will be changed here with the new date. Okay. So whatever the file that is with the new date, that file we have to retrieve in ServiceNow. Then what we will do in the data source, this file name should be dynamic. This file name should be everyday file name, and the file name will be with the current date. Whatever the file name that is with the current date, that file ServiceNow has to fetch. For that, what we will do is, we will write a pre-import, execute pre-import script. So in the pre-import script, what we will do, we will actually query the data source. Okay, we'll query this data source. Okay, we will change this data source file path. Okay, we'll change this data source file path. So every day we'll have to change the file path, guys. Okay, this file path has to be changed every day. This file path has to be changed every day. Okay, because in the server, every day the file name will be stored with the file name and date. So I have to get the latest file every day, new file, right? So I have to make this file name dynamic. I have to make this file name dynamic. To make this file name dynamic every day, I am writing here in the schedule data import. I am writing execute pre-import script. Before importing, I am going to change the file name. As soon as I change the file name, the data source will actually try to find the file name with the updated file name, and it will actually fetch those details. And do you understand, guys? Okay. Slide record of the data source to be used in the scheduled import. Okay. So what we can do is, so there is a data source object here. Data source dot file path. Okay. File name underscore plus new glide date time plus dot Excel Excel assets. Every day the file name will be changing here, the data source. Before importing, it will change the file name and it will it will retrieve the file with the current name. Okay, file path we have to use slash download slash. You're getting my point. It will replace the file path. Every day it will before it will actually import the or before it imports the, so daily this job will run, right? Before running this job, this will run, this script will run. This data source object refers to this data source record. This data source record. In this data source record, you are changing the file name every day. In this data source record access, this data source record access, you can get it using data source dot file name. That is what we have read here. Data underscores glide record of the data source to be used for the glide scheduled import. So what am I doing is here this data source refers to this particular data source. In this data source there is a file path. This file path. So what am I doing is every day when this job is running, this script will run. This script will change the file path in the data source. This file path will be changed in the data source by running this script. By executing this script, you are changing the file path in the data source. Then what happens? So that it will fetch the this data source will fetch current date file, and it will import latest file into ServiceNow temporary table. You got my point, everyone? This job run daily. Before running this job, this script will be executed. This script will change the file name in the data source. Okay, this script will change the file name in the data source so that the data source will fetch the latest file. Okay, latest file that will be imported into the temporary table. Then data source will import set will be created. Okay, so likewise, after the import is completed, if you want to execute a script, after the import is completed, if you want to execute this script, you can use execute post import script. Okay, and here in the scheduled import sets, we have data source object. Okay, so import set means get the glide record of the new import set. So there will be an import set created, right? Whenever we load the data, that import set record details you want. If you want that import set details, import set number, okay, set this object to true to start the import action. So use the prescript field to execute the conditions of the import and determine whether to cancel the import process or to cancel the import process. To cancel the import process, you will use cancel is equal to true. Okay. So cancel is equal to true. So if you want to cancel the import data import, you can use cancel is equal to true. If you want to get the import set record values, you will use import set. If you want to get the data source record values, you will use data source. Okay. So that's all actually about data sources, guys. Now you are able to understand, right? What are the data sources purpose and all? Why do we use data sources in ServiceNow? Any questions from anyone?
Yeah, Uday, this is clear, Uday. Most probably we are using the schedule only, right, Uday, as per the industry thing.
Schedule?
Schedule jobs only, right? Just now you showed me the scheduled time things, right?
Schedule data imports.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it depends. Sometimes we'll have to import the details on scheduled basis from the external systems. Sometimes we may need only one-time retrieval.
Okay. Yeah, based on the
So
requirement.
I had a requirement last time. ServiceNow has to connect with the Snowflake. From the Snowflake, I have to fetch the details into ServiceNow, and I have to place them into the ServiceNow temporary tables. And from the temporary tables, and I have to transform those details into target table. Okay, I have actually created a connection between ServiceNow and Snowflake. I
Okay.
retrie- I retrieved those details from Snowflake to ServiceNow and kept them in a temporary table. For Snowflake, I have selected here as JDBC. Okay, and I have selected there will be like MySQL, Oracle SQL. We will have one more option called Snowflake. So you will get that Snowflake option when you install Snowflake related plugin. Okay. You will get those options when you install Snowflake related plugin. Mm, Nothing is showing. There must be a plugin, but I don't remember the plugin name. You have to install the plugin. When you install the plugin, you will be able to see Snowflake option. Whenever you select the Snowflake and you provide the Snowflake connection details, then what happens? ServiceNow will connect with the Snowflake tool and it will import those details into this temporary table and it will create an import set. And it will run the transform map. Okay. Getting my point, right?
Hello, sir. One doubt, sir.
Yeah, please.
Previously, in that case, the data we are changing the file path name by using script, right, sir? And
Yes.
we only getting that file path, latest file path.
Yes.
Okay, sir.
Uday, this is Ravi. I have one doubt, in general doubt. If the user has admin role, automatically ITL and ITL admin role is also included in that, right? Is that correct?
I don't think, Ravi. We have to check here. Just verify it from your end. What you can do is you can open the admin role. If you open the admin role, you will be able to see contains roles. You have to open one by one. Is there any contains roles here for every role or not? You can see image admin, ML admin. Under image admin, ML admin, there will be again content roles. So for this one, there is no content role. If you go to ML admin, no. So you have opened this one, right? You open this one. It's an employee admin. You opened already previously this one. You check here under the admin role, there will be roles added, right? Open each role.
Okay.
In the contents roles, is there any ITL role or not? In the content roles, is there any ITL admin role? That means whenever you add a admin role, ITL role will be, ITL admin role will be automatically coming.
Mhm.
You got it, right?
Yeah. So I will have to check in the admin role, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the admin role, you will be able to see contents roles.
Content roles. Contents roles.
We have to
Okay.
open each contents roles, okay?
Okay.
After opening this one, there will be again contents roles.
Oh, okay.
Getting my point?
Like that, it is keep on showing the contents roles, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure, then I will check it out from my end. Thank you.
Okay, guys, and see you there in tomorrow session. Thank you. Yeah.